Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This session focuses on future dimensions and predictions about language use in Pakistan. I hope and expect by the end of this session you would have some understanding of how the future dimensions of language would be in Pakistan in the coming times and what can be the possible predictions that can be made. Well, my dear students, before I focus on the case of Pakistan, I would like to point out that when it comes to making predictions about the dimensions of language change in future, it really is a very, very tricky question and it is very difficult to answer. Though masses generally believe that the dimensions of language change in future are the same as they are in the past. So, the general opinion, the layman's opinion is that whatsoever is the dimension of linguistic change in the past or whatsoever the precedence is available in the past, that is a guide towards the future and that tells what would happen in the future. That tells what would be the direction of change in a particular language, in a particular sociolinguistic context. However, interestingly, linguists and sociolinguistics experts and researchers do not believe so. According to them, past precedents cannot be, a predictor of the future dimensions of language change. Because, language does not operate in vacuum. It is surrounded by various factors that influence language in varying degrees. And, the positioning of these variables of, for example, age, region, gender, profession, ethnic identity, national identity, geography, etc. Each of these, variables operates on the language in the social context in varying degrees and in varied ways. So, a totality of all these operations that take place on the language give a certain shape and a form to the direction of the language that it takes in future. Keeping this idea in mind, when we come to the linguistic scene of Pakistan and about making predictions about or thinking about what kind of language is going to be there in Pakistan in future, I think it would be a good idea to look at the current scenario of Pakistan. Well, my dear students, Pakistan today is passing through a speedy changing social scenario. As far as the social context of Pakistan is concerned, it is speedily changing. We do not find any precedence of this speedy change before. Different processes of urbanization, processes of westernization, and processes of globalization are simultaneously taking place on the broader scale of the social scenario of Pakistan. And then there are certain repercussions of these processes on the local and the regional levels as well. And alongside these social changes, there are certain changes that are also taking place on the linguistic scenario of Pakistan. The traditional hierarchical position of English, Urdu, and the local and regional languages in the hierarchy of social status from the highest to the lowest is still maintained. However, within this hierarchy, a lot of shift is taking place. Regional languages and vernaculars are giving way to the national language, that is Urdu, and national language in turn, due to the push forces of English language, is giving up in favor of English language. So, in all this context, the natural results of this, sociolinguistic change are that code switching, code mixing, language hybridization, language shift, and language desertion, all of these phenomena are taking place. And, the speed of the whole phenomena has increased. We do not find any examples of this speedy change before. Well, my dear students, also when we think of the possible future of our language or of all the languages in Pakistan, we need to think about the youth of Pakistan. The aspirations of the youth of Pakistan are very important in this regard. The desired Western identity that has emerged as a very, very strong variable in the current times is going to play a very strong role in giving a particular dimension to the language that it would take in Pakistan, in future. Then, the issues of national identity, the issues of youth identity, the issues of regional identity are also going to play their role. However, interestingly, in favor of this idealized, westernized and globalized identity, these regional and the national identities, they are, under threat, and, it seems that in certain ways, the push forces of English would operate on all of these languages. When it comes to the future dimensions of language change, shift, and desertion in the coming times in Pakistan, we also need to consider the softer boundaries between certain cultures and between certain languages within Pakistan. These soft intercultural and interlinguistic boundaries, for instance, between certain regional languages and the national language, such as Punjabi and Urdu, they are going to create some impact on the desertion and shift processes that have already started taking place, for instance, in the case of Punjabi. So, some predictions can be made about the further weakened status of regional languages and the further weakened status, particularly in the case of Punjabi, in relation to Urdu language and English language in the Pakistani context. So what are going to be the consequences of all this? This emerges as an important question. Shift and desertion processes would speed up. And of course, there are going to be maintenance issues. With reference to identity issues, the maintenance of language would become an issue, particularly with reference to the local languages. Urdu would also have to face this struggle against English, even with more intensity, because, the processes of maintenance of Urdu lexis would become more difficult in the face of the borrowing that is being, done by, taking a lot of words even today from English language. So, these are some of the possible, dimensions in which language use in Pakistan may go in future. However, it is very difficult to say anything with certainty.